Warhammer 6th Edition Fantasy Battles. We're playing a long-form campaign, and it's time for the second of our tabletop fights. In our last video, we forgot a couple of things like rank bonuses, strength bonuses, and all that. We'll try to get it right this time. Here is the tabletop as we generated it in the last episode, and here's what it looks like in all of its three-dimensional glory. As you can see, we do have heavy woods and heavy woods kind of off in the corner. We've got two hills in the center point. I realized after I produced the video that I do have some grassland, so I dropped a little grass down in the field, little grass field right there that will slow movement but not block line of sight, and we do have a light woods over here. Slows movement, blocks line of sight. Of course, the hill blocks line of sight as well. This is a meeting engagement, so I don't know who gets to go first on which turn, but before we get to that, let's talk about the forces at the disposal of the various commanders. This handsome lad right here is Adrith Smean. He is an Iron Thrall. He's got Strength 5. He's got a Biting Blade, so his AP 3 goes to AP 4. He's wearing heavy armor, and he's got a shield. We're going to start him off right there. He's the overall commander. If he dies, then everybody that doesn't have a champion, which both of these skeleton spearmen do, is basically out of the game. And that's just going to be these zombies. His battle plan is to send the zombies up to slow down whoever. In fact, he got to see how the Bromans deployed. So his plan after seeing that is to say, I'm going to use these guys as a tar pit. I'm going to send my my unit of spearmen. They do have a banner, a champion, and a drummer. Although, come to think of it, I don't think musicians do these guys much good. Musicians give you a +1 on your rally check. These guys don't have to rally. They never break. They just wither away. Anyway, we'll send these guys up to try and kill as many. Remember that from a strategic perspective, we just want to eliminate as many of the yellow figures as possible. These guys have reinforcements. These guys have a much greater ability to replace their losses. So we may leave this unit up on the hill to try to just soak as much damage as possible. Because on the other side of the table, the Bromans are not messing around. They've got a single unit of 30 spearmen. 5 ranks of 6, led by a champion and a banner. They do not have a musician. They've got a unit of swordsmen. Now, these swordsmen, I should point out, the figures have heavy armor. Our swordsmen do not. They just have light armor and shields. I don't have any swords guys with light armor that would work. We do have 10 of those. We've got 12 archers with regular bow. We've got Captain Cavat Alessatore, heavy armor shield. He's got a sword of striking, which gives him a +1 to hit. And the question is, since we've already got our general, Sam out Nenarip, we're going to put the captain with these swordsmen. I want to use a character in a unit a couple of times. I think we're going to do that on the opposite side as well. But to finish things off, we do have a unit of knights on war horses. They're just your standard lance, heavy armor, shield. Bear in mind, the guys in the front rank, see how the guys in the front rank have lances? There's 6 guys with lances. These guys also have lances. I'm just proxying because I've only got 6 figures with lances. These come from Coruscant figures. This whole force comes from Coruscant, as a matter of fact, with the exception of High Priest Rickley. That's this little priest-looking guy. He comes from Irregular Miniatures. He is the only spellcaster on the table, which could lead to huge problems. If the Bromans want to play this strategically, they could just stand off and let Priest Rickley, High Priest Rickley, blast him to smithereens. He is a priest of the heavens, and he's got 4 spells. I rolled these off camera. They are, he can pray the daily rosary. That gives him on a 5-up, and he's actually got a level 4, so he can roll 4 dice for this. He's built to be a sorcerer killer, and in a case like this, it's a bit of overkill. So daily rosary, that earns 3 rerolls for the remainder of the turn. He can cast Thunder, which I couldn't think of a good Christian analog, but that does D6 strength 4 hits anywhere on the table. That being the case, what we could really do is just leave him here and make the skeletons come to us. We could just rain death down. In fact, there's another one that's called Storm of Sodom and Gomorrah. We'll add that just in case people get a little twitchy. But the Storm of Sodom, what that does is got a 6-inch range, and it does D6 strength 4 hits. You need a 9-up to get that. That is directly from the rule book. All I did was change it to a biblical reference. And then the last one is the Portent of St. Michael the Archangel, which has a 6-inch range. If you cast that on a unit, that unit rerolls all 1s on 2 hit rolls and to wound rolls for the rest of the turn for that melee round. So that's about it. Now we got to figure out who is going to go first. We'll roll the yellow die for the guys in the yellow armor. Undead get to go first. I think they needed that. I think it's going to be important because, like I said, if they don't go on the attack, the undead are just going to slowly wither away to this guy's anywhere on the table spells. The zombies move up 2 inches. The skeletons each move up. Well, okay. Undead cannot march. They're only allowed to move 2 inches. I have to commit. They're going to spend the first 2 turns moving up because I've moved them both up 4 inches. So next turn, they've already moved. We'll bring the zombies up 2 inches. We're just trying to get as close as possible, as fast as possible. We will try to use the zombies, I think, maybe to draw a charge so that we can hit the knights. I think if we can hit the knights and do some damage, that'll be worthwhile. For their part, the Bromans just want to spread out in a nice even line. We deployed both of our forces within 6 inches, actually 6 inches either side of the road. It buys us another inch, inch and a half. And then within 6 inches of the table edge, so they can spread out. We've moved up just a little bit. They're done moving. That takes us to the magic phase. That means we're going to call down the thunder. High Priest Rickley can roll up to 5 dice. He doesn't have to worry about this being dispelled. He just has to worry about casting 2 ones. If he rolls Snake Eyes, then the spell does not get off. So we are only going to roll 3d6. And with the Snake Eyes, the spell has failed. That is a miscast. To balance out the fact that we've only got 1 spellcaster on the table, we will roll on the miscast table. With the result of a 9, a massive vortex drains away the sorceress energy, the heavenly energy. He is, after all, a priest of the heavens. Any remaining power dice are removed and the magic phase ends. Well, that doesn't do us too much harm. But that gives the Bromans a little bit of a mini game that they have to contend with on the magic phase. Then we do the shooting phase. These guys have a range of 12 inches. They're in range. These skeletons are able to be fired at by, I think, we're going to call it 5 of the guys, of the bows in the front rank, can get shots off. Now, these are not going to be easy shots because they moved. They're at long range. That means they're only hitting on 6s. So they didn't get any hits. That is the only missile fire we have in this fight. It's definitely a melee-heavy brawl. We're done with the first turn. So moving on to the second turn, because obviously we don't have any melee. So moving on to the second turn, the undead move, and as I said before, the 2 units of skeletons have already moved, and our zombies are out in front, so we'll move them up as well. The only other thing we'll do is attach our boss man. The Iron Thrall is going to be attached to this unit of skeletons. For the Bromans, we're not going to do any charges. Not yet. We don't want to get these guys too far ahead of the rest of their supporting units. So what we'll do instead is we're going to do just a pivot by these guys. And everybody else is just going to move up 2 inches. The archers did pivot. We're playing the long game here. If these swords guys don't do well against this huge unit of undead spearmen, it's going to be ugly. That being the case, when we get to melee missile fire, these guys will still only be hitting on 6s. But once again, we're going to try to do D6 strength for hits, and we're going to hit this unit if we can. Hey, look at that. We got a 10. We got it off, so we're going to do D6. We're going to do 1 strength 4 hit. And it's not going to wound. So the storm of Sodom and Gomorrah is not doing too much for us today. Or I guess I should probably say for the Brom. Oh, wait a minute. Did we do... Yeah, we did movement. That was magic. Now we do shooting. And this time around, I think we've got a total of 6 archers who can let loose at this unit. And we're going to get a grand total of no hits. That's going to be the end of missile. We don't have any melee. That's the end of turn number 3. Moving on to turn number 4, the undead get to go. And it's going to get a little awkward here, I think, because the undead have to commit. And we are absolutely going to move this unit 2 inches forward. So much for the blessing of those Sabbat bases. This time I got rid of those. Our skeletons have moved up 2 inches. Yes, that means that they are subject to charges. We've got charge here. We've got charge here. Those are the only 2 charges that we have, and we're going to affect those right now. These guys will march up 4 inches as well. Oh, I misspoke earlier. This is the Bring Down the Thunder spell that we're trying to cast. That does the D6 strength. The Storm of Sodom and Gomorrah has a 6-inch range. It's actually 12 inches, but half scale, 15 millimeter. You probably get tired of me hearing me say that. Doesn't really matter. They both have the same number of damage. They both have the same target number. We're looking for a 9 or better. We get it off this time, and we're targeting this group of spearmen over there because it's the only one not engaged. Hey, look at that. 6 strength 4 hits against toughness of 3. These are going to be 4 hits. Then we do have, let me check my skeletons real quick. They do have some armor somewhere in there. But wait, you have to pass a leadership test in order to charge an undead foe. They cause fear, both the skeletons and zombies. The knights are within 6 inches of the boss man. They only need a 9 or less. With a 5, they're successful. The swordsmen also, well, now they only need an 8 or less. They roll a 7, that's okay, because they have the captain with them. The 8 or less allows them to charge. And that means that the swordsmen are going to do, well, the undead get to decide which fight is going to be resolved first. They're going to resolve this one first. Captain Cavett will be attacking with the swordsman. He's the guy on the far left end of the line. He has a weapon skill of 5, so we'll be using a blue die for him. Now, fighting against spearmen with a weapon skill of 2 means everybody hits on 3s, but we do need to distinguish that this die, when it comes time to do our wounding hit, oh, you know what? We'll check to wound. Sometimes I forget this. So he normally wounds on a 3 because he's got a, well, let's check that. He's got a strength of 4 versus a target toughness of 3. Oh, he only wounds on a 2. Now, because we are hitting with strength of 4, that means we have AP 1. The light armor that the skeletons have on is not going to do them much good. We are going to lose 2 skeletons. Out through because we don't want to look at the washers. We want to look at the dead guys. Now the skeletons get to counterattack, and this is going to hurt because the skeletons have spears. They can attack 2 ranks deep. They'll be rolling 12 dice. Weapon skill of 2 versus 4 means they are hitting on 4s. We'll get rid of all of the misses, and that's going to leave them with a total of 2, 4, 6 hits. Then they'll roll to wound. It's going to be 3s versus 3s. So wounding on 4 up, we're going to call that a 5. They get a total of 3 kills. And then our swordsmen have a 6-up save. I think that's what it is. Yeah, they have swordsmen with spears. They have light armor. Oh, they do have shields. They're saving on 5s. They didn't get any saves. They lose 3 guys. 1, 2, 3. And this fight did not go well for the humans. Now, these 3 figures are eliminated from, well, not necessarily from the campaign. We'll work out casualties at the end of the battle. But there's something else going on here. The swordsmen now do not have a 2nd rank for this combat. This is going to get even worse for the humans. They've lost by 1, but, and I forgot this on the last battle report, I'm sure tons of you guys are going to let me hear about that. These skeletons still have 1, 2, 3 ranks past the first. That means they've won by 4. They also outnumber the enemy. They've won by 5. And that means when our swordsmen take their morale check, they are at a +5 on this roll. An 11 is not going to do it. They have now broken. They are going to flee 2d6 inches. Divide by 2. That's a 3.5 for us. The skeletons choose not to pursue. I probably should have announced that beforehand. The idea here is that, okay, 3.5 inches takes them back to the leader. These guys are now running in the wrong direction. And what were there? There's 6 in the front. They do still have their captain with them, but he runs with them. He's going to try to rally them. The reason the undead do not pursue is they're hoping to be able to swing in and do a flank attack on the knights. We want to see what happens with this fight before we do anything else over here. The knights have charged the zombies, and I've got a total of 10 attacks. 5 for the knights themselves. They are holding red lances. We'll use the red dice for them. The horses, the war horses, also attack. They're not holding lances, though, so they will be attacking on this turn at a lower strength. The red hits, we're going to get 3 of those. And everybody hits on 3 because zombies are terrible at melee combat. So we get a total of 4 hits for the horses. They are going to be hitting with a strength of 3. And the lances are going to be hitting with a strength of, I think it's 5 altogether. No, it's strength of 6. So that's why we use the different colored dice in this charge. Now that +2 strength bonus is only on the first turn. When you've got a strength of 6 versus a toughness of 3, you're going to be wounding on anything but 1s. So that's 3 for the lances, and the horses are going to hit with 2 more deaths themselves. The zombies now get a chance to counterattack. There are only 2, 4, 5 of them in the front row, so we'll switch over, and we'll roll the red dice with a weapon skill of 3 going up against, I believe you go up against the riders. Weapon skill of 2 against a weapon skill of 3. You need a 2 versus 3. You're only hitting on 4s. We only get 2 hits. And those 2 hits are going to translate into strength 3 versus toughness 3. So we get 1 hit, and then we're wounding on a 1 or a 2. Our save is on a 3 up because these knights do have barding. That is a total of 5 kills for the knights to no kills to the zombies. The knights get an extra +1 to that result because, actually they get an extra +2. So it's going to be, they get +1 for the rank. They outnumber, well, do they? They have a strength of 2 each because of the horse. So that's a total of 10 guys. That's 20 versus just 10 for the zombies. Yeah. With the additional strength, that's a total of 7, and because of that, they're going to wind up killing an additional 7 zombies, leaving just 4 in the fracas. The zombies have held. That's going to be critical moving forward. We're done with this turn. That's it for melee. Then we move on to turn number 4. The undead get to go first. And let me do this in the right order because the situation has become more complex. Declare charges. Our spearmen are going to charge the knights. The undead here can charge if they are within 4 inches. They are going to charge. All right, well, we're going to have a charge here. These Broman spearmen will countercharge. And I think that's it. Then we rally fleeing troops. These swordsmen have to pass a leadership test. It's a test. Their leadership is 8 because the captain is with them. And they succeed. They may turn, but may not move or shoot. They can adopt any formation. As you can see, the skeletons have piled in over there. They've hit the knights in the flank. The knights fell into the trap, or the trap worked out okay. If the swordsmen had been able to stand their ground for 1 more turn, this battle might have turned out very different. Now, over here, I think I did things wrong. These spearmen, hearing that they are being charged by these skeletons, have to pass a fear check, a leadership test. With an 8, they do. That means they will be able to stand their ground. Now, in order to, and I think, counter charges, that's only for mounted, for cavalry, right? So I don't think that the Bromans can countercharge these skeletons who are within 4 inches. So let me move those skeletons into position. We do magic. High Priest Rickley is going to cast Portent of St. Michael. He needs a 6 or better to get this spell off. With a 12 he does. The knights here now re-roll all 1s on their 2 hits and their wound rolls for this turn. The undead say, yeah, but you know what? I want to do this combat first because this is where I think things are going to work out well for me. The skeletons get to attack first. There are 2 ranks. They have a weapon skill of 2 versus a weapon skill of 3 is going to lead to a 2-hit roll of 4 or better. Rolling 12 dice, looking for 4s. Pulling out all the misses, as we do, leads to a total of 6 hits. Just the average die roll. Then, with a strength of 3 versus a toughness of 3, we are looking for 4s or better to wound. We get a total of 2 wounds, and then we have the opportunity to save. Our spearmen do have Spears, light armor, and shields, they are saving on a 5 or better. They make 1 save. So only 1 wound, but I forgot that we also have 1 extra attack because we have a champion in the front. He is going to hit. He is going to not wound. And then we also have this leader in the front row who gets to attack as well. That is the Thrall Lord, Adrith Shmian. And he's got 3 attacks. Oh, I wonder if Captain Alessatore had 3 attacks. I forgot to check that. So he gets 3 attacks. And he is going to hit on all 3. With his weapon skill of 5, he would actually be hitting on 3s, I believe. But either way, he gets 3 hits. And then he does have a Biting Blade, which has AP 1. So these 2 hits are going to go, and with a strength of, what else does he have? 5? He's got a total of AP 3. That means that those 2 become actual straight-up wounds. It overcomes their... Basically, the +2 means that save is at -2, so the spearman can't succeed. Then, we're going to do the same thing. We've got 12 hits for the Bromans. We throw an extra die for the champion, and the Bromans are going to be hitting on 4s. Pulling out all of the misses leaves us with 8 hits. 8 hits, looking for 4s or better to wound. We get a total of 5 wounds, and now the skeletons only have leather armor. They are going to be saving on 6s. So they only save 1 of those. They're going to lose 4 guys themselves. Now bear in mind, the skeleton unit started out at a total of, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 ranks of 6. That's 24. They only had 27 guys to start with. So we got to count to figure out who's got the most, the greater strength. As you can see, both forces have a total of 3 ranks. So there's no rank bonuses. They cancel each other out. We are at 3 versus 3 for the casualties. Those cancel out. Both sides have a banner, so that cancels itself out. The difference being that our 4 ranks, so let's see, the same number of guys, except we've got an extra 3 guys for the Bromans, and only an extra 1 for this Thrall, which means the Bromans have won by just 1 point. They are going to do 1 more wound to the skeletons, and that's going to end that melee. The big fight in the center is a little more complicated. The Knights get to attack first. They have an initiative of 3, the zombies 1, the skeletons 2. So the Knights will get to attack first. They are going to get to roll 10 attacks against the zombies to their front. And everybody hits on 3s. As before, the red dice are for the guys with the spears, although it doesn't matter because they don't get the +2 to their strength this time around. They're just going to be hitting with strengths of 4. The horses are hitting with a strength of 3 and strength of 4. So the red dice are wounding on 3s. The blue dice are wounding on 4s. We get 1, 2, 3 wounds altogether. The zombies have 1 figure left. Oh, we needed that 4th hit, didn't we? But wait, that's only the first part of the combat. Now the skeletons get to attack. And the skeletons have 2 ranks, and they've got, and they're tiny enough that they get to roll a total of 12 attacks. It's going to wind up being 13 attacks because they have a champion in that front rank. That champion gets +1 attack. Now the skeletons have a weapon skill of 2, and when you go up against the knights, you're fighting the riders, which is a weapon skill of 4. So 2 versus 4 is still hitting on 4s, but we're rolling 13 of them thanks to that second rank. And that's a really good roll for them. They only missed 3 times. Strength 3 versus toughness, and they need it because they need to get a couple of kills in at this point. Whoop, look at that. That's what I do when I try to keep it on the camera. I'm going to move these in. Not a great swing on the to wound roll. Wounding on 4s or better means we only did 3 wounds to the knights, and the knights are going to save on, I think it's anything, 2 up, I think? Oh, that's terrible. They definitely failed 2 of those. Did I write it down here? They have heavy armor, which is a 5, and a shield 4, and barding 3, and they're on a horse of 2. They failed 2 of them. The knights are going to lose 2 casualties. Now, what does that mean in terms of the combat? Well, the undead did 1 more wound, so they've won by a single point. +1 for the casualties. +1 for the banner brings us to 2. +3, 4, 5 for the rank bonus. Plus another one for the flank attack. That means it's a total victory of 6 points. The knights now have to make a leadership check against leadership score. Now, they can use the overall general's leadership of 9, but they're at a total of -6. And they're going to blow it. They're going to run away. And then this time, the skeletons are definitely going to pursue. This could be interesting. The knights are going to run right away to the tune of 6 inches. The skeletons have opted to pursue. If they roll greater than 6, this campaign is going to get ugly. They roll an 8. They have successfully overrun. How does that happen? Record scratch. We're going to call it quits right there. We're about 30 to 40 minutes into this battle report. We're going to come back in 2 days. We're going to pick it up right there. That's the end of turn number 3, maybe 4. I can't remember off the top of my head. We'll pick it up right here in 2 days. Tune in to find out the thrilling conclusion to this epic confrontation between Battle Force Archangel versus the undead forces of, what was it? Force Julius. Till then, I'm praying for you.